Don James, Vulcan Materials Company. The name Vulcan is forever linked with Birmingham in more ways than one. And leading Vulcan Materials Company is a role that demands a certain special kind of leader. Don James was up to that task and then some.
What's most impressive is how Don led us. Even with large jumps in our business, he kept our culture. Vulcan is a large public company, but still feels like a family business that cares.
The main one that always stays with me is do the right thing the right way at the right time. In Don's almost 20 years as the leader of our company, I can tell you, he set that tone.
James joined Vulcan in 1992 after previously working as an attorney at what was then known as Bradley, Arant, Rose & White, where he served on the executive committee.
One of the rare lawyers who did both transactional or mergers and acquisition practice and did it very well, and also was a gifted litigator. I mean, that is very rare. But Don had the mind for it, for sure.
Under his leadership, Vulcan Materials sold its chemicals business and made a number of major acquisitions in the aggregates industry, positioning the company for significant growth.
Under Don's leadership, Vulcan grew to be the leading aggregates producer in the fastest growing markets in the United States. Most notably, the acquisition of Calmat in 1999 gave Vulcan that coast-to-coast presence, and the acquisitions of Tarmac and Florida Rock solidifying Vulcan's positions in the southeast and on the eastern coast. Not only did Don engineer these acquisitions, but he artfully integrated them into the Vulcan Materials fold.
Colleagues said James's background in the legal world served him well while heading one of Birmingham's marquee firms. During his tenure, the company's value grew from $2 billion to $18 billion.
At Bradley, we used to refer to some folks as two-handed lawyers, on the one hand and on the other hand, when they never could make a decision. So that's one thing that can be trained into a lawyer that can make you a very ineffective chief executive officer. But I think Don, or I know Don, was able to see all sides. He was able to, as a litigator, right? He was able to ask probing questions. He was able to interrogate, right? But the great thing about Don was, or is still, that he can get to a decision. Get all the facts, get the information. I know what's important. There's the decision. Let's go.
Not only did Don engineer these acquisitions, but he artfully integrated them into the Vulcan Materials fold. Don became CEO in 1997, and Vulcan had 211 facilities, an enterprise value a little north of $1.1 billion. At the end of his tenure in 2014, Vulcan had grown into 411 facilities, an enterprise value north of $10.5 billion.
His leadership style was evident during tough times too, such as the Great Recession.
And I would commend Don for managing through that. I mean, you couldn't have been handed a harder hand. And I think that, again, I was on the outside looking in at that point, but there was a lot of pressure, but a lot of strength, And I think that also shows the strength of the Vulcan family. I think it also shows the strength of our assets, right? That you can come through something that difficult and come out the other side. And look at us now. Don wasn't going to ask us to do anything where he wasn't out there doing it in front.
Colleagues said James's upbringing in Russellville shaped his work ethic and his approach to business.
If you ask me, give me 3 words, give me a few words that capture Don, I would tell you he is a consummate professional and he is a true gentleman.
James was heavily involved in a host of nonprofit and community organizations, including the Birmingham Museum of Art, the Mountain Brook Board of Education, Birmingham Southern College, the United Way of Central Alabama, and others.
Not only was Don a great business leader, but he also worked tirelessly for our communities, with board memberships too numerous to name.
He also served on the boards of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the National Manufacturers Association. James's legacy will be taking one of Birmingham's most prominent companies to new heights. How did he do it? Along the way, he shaped Vulcan Materials' corporate culture and created major milestones that won't be forgotten.
Don's legacy is both the growth legacy and putting us on a path where what we talk about is one Vulcan locally led, right? It's a very local business if you think about what it is that we sell. It's in local markets. It doesn't travel very far. It can't. It's very heavy, right? And so you have to have good local leadership, but you also have to have strong central leadership, right? To take the excellent things that can apply to the entire business. And he really put us on that path.